In this movie, we will add a content item to the front page of our site. This is something you'll want to do very frequently when building a Joomla-based website. So let's jump right in. First, we're going to click on the Add New Article link here on the control panel. Now this pulls up a form that we can use to add a new article in Joomla. Before we start typing in our content, we first need to set a few things. First, let's add a title to this article. This will be what people see in the front end of the website that identifies the article. Next, for published, make sure it's set to yes so that we can see it on the front end of the website. If you set it to no, it'll just save it in the database and you can come back and edit it later. Next, we're going to set front page to yes. And what this will do is it'll put our content on the front page of Joomla. Next, we're going to set the section. Since we haven't set up any sections or categories yet, we're going to set this to uncategorized, and we'll come back to it later in another chapter. Finally, we're ready to enter our content. I have some ready to paste in, so I'm just going to do that, and then click Save. It's now saved in the database, so let's go to the front end of the website and see what it looks like. Click Refresh, and your content's now available for everyone to see. Adding content to the front page of Joomla is easy. Add a title, enter your content, make sure it's set for the front page, and click Save. Sometimes you'll have an article that's too large to display in full on the front page. You've probably been to blog sites where you can see the first part of the post, but you have to click through to see the rest. Joomla has a similar feature called Read More. In this movie, we'll create a long article, but only display a small part of it on the front page with a link to the rest. First, let's go and click Add New Article again. Here we have the article editing screen again, and we're going to write a little bit about John and Meredith themselves. So like we did last time, we're going to add a title. We're going to make sure that this article is published, so make sure that this is set to yes. We want to show this article on the front page, so set front page to yes. Leave section and category as uncategorized. We haven't created any sections and categories yet, and we'll do that later. Now we're ready to enter in our text. I've prepared some ahead of time that I'll just paste in now. And then click Save. Let's go back to the front end and hit refresh. And now we see the article here in the front end. But there's a problem. We have About John and Meredith here at the top, but we don't see About Fresh and Local yet. We only see the title of it because About John and Meredith is pushing that content down. Let's solve this by adding a Read More link to About John and Meredith. Go back to the back end and click on About John and Meredith. Let's cut it after this first paragraph. Go to the end of the first paragraph, then click on the Read More button at the bottom of the editor. Click Save. Now go to the front end and hit refresh. Now we see About John and Meredith, and we only see the first paragraph, but we can now also see the About Fresh and Local article as well. If we want to see the rest of the About John and Meredith article, we can just click Read More. Now we see the first paragraph and the rest of the article. Using Read More is a good way of breaking up long articles. You can use it to display the first bit with a link to the rest. While editing your content, click the Read More button to add a break after the introduction. When you're building your website, you'll usually build a menu of links to specific pages. Joomla has a menu system where you can add links to individual articles. In this movie, we will create some content and then link to it in the menu. First, let's go to Add New Article. Here we have the screen for adding a new article to Joomla, the same one that we've used in the previous videos. And first, we're going to add a title to this article. This article is going to hold some reviews of the restaurant that some of the local media has published about us. So we're going to type in reviews of our restaurant. we're going to make sure that published is set to yes. We're also going to make sure that front page this time is set to no, because we don't want this article to appear on the front page. Make sure that section and category are set to uncategorized. We'll categorize this article in a later video. And then go down to the text entry field and paste in your content. I've already written some up, so I'm going to paste it in. Then go up to the top and click Save. Notice that our article is saved in the database, but it's set to not display on the front page. Let's go back to the front end and hit refresh. You'll notice that you don't see it anywhere on the front page at all, but there's no way to get to the article. Let's add a link underneath home here that will go to that article. Let's go back to the administration, go to menus, main menu. From here, click new, and you'll notice we have a list of menu item types that we can choose from. For the moment, we're only dealing with articles, so select articles. This gives us several different options for displaying articles in Joomla, and for the moment, we just want the one that displays one article at a time, and that one is article layout. So select that. And now we have a screen where we can create a link to this content item. We're going to add the title here for the link, and we're simply going to call it Reviews. Next, we're going to select the article we wish to link to. Go over here to the Select Article box and click Select. This screen lists all of the articles in our system. Let's select Reviews of our restaurant. Notice that we have a different title for our menu link than the title for the content item. Select Reviews of our restaurant and click Save. So now we have home and reviews on the menu. Let's go back to the front end and hit refresh. So now you see reviews is still not on the front page, but now we have a link to reviews in the main menu. So click the link, and now this brings us to reviews of our restaurant. There's nothing else on the page, just this article. Articles can be added as links on the menu. This allows us to add multiple pages to the site. You don't need to throw everything on the front page. Sometimes you have articles that get very long, but are organized around certain bullet points or headings. Instead of making your visitors scroll through screens of text, create a table of contents they can use to pick specific parts. In this video, we will use Joomla's page break feature to break a long article into smaller pieces. Let's go to the Article Manager, and here we have a list of all the articles in the system. The About John and Meredith article has a little blurb about John and a little blurb about Meredith, so that's the kind of content item that we would want to split up into different portions. Let's click on John and Meredith, and we have our content from before. Let's add a heading for John. So let's go and click the Page Break button at the bottom of the editor. We're going to add a page title. This will be the heading that displays when we're viewing this portion. So we're going to call this About John. And then we're going to add a table of contents alias. This is the title of the link that will appear on the page that people will click to get to this portion of the article. We're just going to say John. Click Insert Page Break, and a line appears where the page break occurs. Let's go between John and Meredith and add a page break for Meredith now. Click on the page break icon, and on page title, we're going to call this About Meredith. And then for the link, we're just going to call it Meredith. Click Insert Page Break, and then go to the top of the screen and click Save. Let's go back to the front end of the website, click Refresh, and notice that those page breaks don't affect the front end display of the article. But when we click to read more, we see the first part of the article, but we don't see the rest of it. Notice there's a box on the right titled Article Index. This is actually the table of contents that's referred to in the back end They just call it article index in the front end. We have About John Emeritus, and that's the first portion of the article. When we click on John, it pulls up the About John portion of the article and displays the information about John. We can then go over and click on Meredith, and it will pull up her bio. Or we can click on All Pages, and it will display the entire content item at once. If we go back and click on John, you'll notice that at the bottom of the page, there are previous and next links. These links help us navigate through the different portions of the article without having to go over to the article index. The page break feature lets you break an article into several headings. Joomla automatically generates a table of contents, called article index in the front end, based on your breaks. When visitors view your article, they have the option of viewing one part at a time or reading everything in one screen.